It's Wednesday's edition of PFT OT. This is the new digital thing that we do after the end of PFT Live, where Chris Simms and I will go over some of the topics that we either didn't get to or that we didn't get to talk about as much as we would like to talk about them. And as you know, if you watch PFT Live, we like to talk a lot. Chris, let's start with something we talked about at the end of PFT Live, the news from Adam Schefter that teams have been told that a deal is expected to be in place for Steelers receiver Antonio Brown by Friday of this week. First of all, that means I win the bet. You owe me a steak, medium rare, all sorts of appetizers and side dishes, and plenty of expensive scotch for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, assuming this is real, assuming it's going to happen, I think we both agree that the most likely candidate to trade for Antonio Brown is the Oakland Raiders.
Yeah, it certainly does seem like that would be the team, right? I mean, the first thing I think we would all look at, just common sense-wise, is go, what are the teams with multiple first-round picks? Well, the Raiders have 3 of them. They need offensive weapons. How can they even know if Derek Carr is the franchise quarterback for the new John Gruden era with the cast that was around him last year? They couldn't protect. They didn't have a lot of playmakers at the skill positions. I get that. I know John Gruden can handle a guy like Antonio Brown. He's handled other personalities in his history, whether that be Warren Sapp and a long list of other guys. So I think that can make a lot of sense there. I guess the big thing is, what other team out there would make sense, right? I mean, the Packers have 2 picks. I don't see them doing that. The New York Jets were a team that was rumored in this, right? Would the New York Jets do that? Now, I do think Adam Gase is the type of guy that can handle Antonio Brown, too.
I don't think Gase wants anything to do with Antonio Brown.
I don't think he would either. I was going to go because he just got rid of guys like Jarvis Landry and Ndamukong Suh, who were strong personalities in the locker room in Miami, to where I would think he might not want to deal with that here in his first year in New York. So I think the Raiders make the most sense.
And I think Jarvis Landry's a guy that, you know, if you've got a problem with him, you definitely are going to have a problem with Antonio Brown.
Right.
Because I don't put Jarvis Landry in the same category as Brown. Jarvis Landry just wanted to get paid.
Exactly right.
And I think
That's
Adam
what it was.
Gase got exasperated because he couldn't talk Jarvis Landry into not getting what he was worth.
Yes.
They were trying to build a team of guys like in New England where everybody says, hey, I don't care how much you pay me. I'm willing to leave money behind so you can have other players. So if you're can't get it done with him, you definitely don't want Antonio Brown. But if the Jets get in this, Chris, that tells me that Gase isn't really calling many shots in New York. And, you know, there have been whispers and rumblings about Greg Williams. Was that really a guy Adam Gase wanted? And how much of the draft will he control? If Antonio Brown gets foisted upon Gase, that's what it will be. It will be Antonio Brown being added to the team over Adam Gase's objection, I believe.
Yeah, I agree. We would know that, yes, Adam Gase is not calling the shots there or has control over the roster like he did with a lot of the decisions in Miami. And, you know, honestly, I worry about Antonio Brown with any young quarterback, right? That would be the other little caveat I think you throw in there. You know, that's why I didn't think Arizona made sense, whether it was Josh Rosen or Kyler Murray or Cliff Kingsbury. There's just too much newness there to deal with a guy like Antonio Brown. Same thing with the Jets. Sam Darnold, young quarterback, certainly has a bright future, like everything I see. But, yeah, dealing with personalities, you feel pressure like this, Mike, as a quarterback when you have a player like Antonio Brown in your huddle. I know I felt it with Joey Galloway, and Joey Galloway was a great teammate and really everything you wanted in the locker room. But I knew he was a big free agent acquisition for us. I knew he was really talented. I wanted to please him because I knew he was talented and I wanted him to like me. And that added pressure to the situation, let alone if he was maybe a mouthy guy like Antonio Brown too. Who knows how much more pressure I would have put on myself to deal with that. So you have to take those things into account.
What does John Gruden do the first time Antonio Brown shows up late for a meeting or breezes into the locker room 15 minutes before kickoff and everybody else is ready to go?
Yeah, that's going to be the big question. Now, like I said, he has dealt with those type of issues before, and he might let it slide once or twice, but at some point he is going to make address the team and maybe not speak directly to that player specifically, but make the point very clear about things need to change and leaders on our team need to show. He'll do it that way with also talking to an Antonio Brown privately behind closed doors. That would be John Gruden's approach, at least in my history with him.
John Gruden also reportedly has interest in Kyler Murray, the Oklahoma quarterback, who is expected to be one of the top picks in the draft. The Raiders hold the 4th overall pick. That's the one they earned with their bad season last year. And Kyler Murray was the subject yesterday, Chris, and we spent a lot of time talking about this on PFT Live. Charlie Casserly's assessment based upon anonymous opinion that was shared with him about combine interviews that Kyler Murray submitted to. Kyler Murray has responded, I think. There was a tweet from Odell Beckham Jr. with just 2 emojis, a smile with the laughing till you cry and then the zipper mouth. Kyler Murray retweeted that with the word likewise, which I think that is a fair interpretation. This was last night, right around 11 o'clock Eastern. That, in my mind, is his way of saying, I'm amused by all of this, I disagree with all of this, and I ain't saying a damn thing.
Exactly.
Is that the right approach? Or should he come out? Should he challenge it either directly or through his agent?
No, I don't think he needs to challenge it. I don't. I think it's, if he knows it not to be true and he knows that it's a bunch of, bull crap and BS and propaganda, it's going to eventually show itself there that this was not a real report or it was just erroneous on all accounts. Whatever it may be, I think he should take the right approach. That was the perfect response. Like, laugh, like, this is hilarious. They're saying this, but I'm not saying nothing. I'm not getting involved in it. You're not going to use that against me, too. Why? So then he spouts off or calls a guy an idiot, and then Charlie Casserly or somebody else can go, look, this is the problem with this guy. You don't know what you're going to get. I think all those things, Kyler Murray's been professional. I find it, Mike, like we said on the show, just odd that it comes out now so quickly after the combine, and also that there was, usually you have inklings of these type of things before the combine when players are like this, or not really everything you want them to be on and off the field their senior year or last year in college. You and I both knew Johnny Manziel had issues way before the combine came about. Usually a little bit about that, and this kind of just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, and again, I'll say what I said during the show without any editorial comment. Kyler Murray, the only quarterback who chose not to work out at the scouting combine, televised exclusively by NFL Network with a couple of hours on ABC. Kyler Murray, the only quarterback who has been trashed in this way by an NFL Network analyst. Maybe a coincidence. I'm just pointing it out. And Kyler Murray now, Chris, when he has these visits with teams and it's a longer process, this is just another issue he's going to have to deal with. They're going to want to ask him, how did you feel about it? What's your reaction to it? It's one thing with how he chooses to handle it publicly. Privately, he's not going to have any way around this. He's going to get asked point blank, what do you think about what Charlie Casserly said? And that becomes another issue for him to be ready to talk about, on top of, is he committed to football? What about his height? What about his weight? What about his hand size? It's just something else that's going to make it harder for him to make the kind of impression he needs to make.
Yeah, certainly. But, everything I've seen to this point, he seems like a fine young man, and he doesn't seem like he gets flustered very easily. I mean, even, we talked about on the show the awkward interview he had with Dan Patrick, right? Because he hadn't made a decision whether he was going all in on NFL or, all in on baseball yet. So he was kind of evasive and didn't want to answer some questions and was a little short with his questions. He was still respectful. He still had good laughs. Again, this is a time of the year where we're very nitpicky with players in general. All I know is from what I saw on film, Kyler Murray is special. He certainly showed me nothing on film that made me question his smarts, his ability to know the plays, the right reads, where to go with the football. None of that. All of that was top notch. And that's why I think I have a little bit of a hard time buying into this whole report as is anyways.
Something definitely to remember once Murray gets into the NFL, and if he ends up being a great quarterback, Charlie Casserly deserves to never hear the end of it. You didn't hear the end of our draft of the worst free agent signings of all time. We each drafted 3, but I got one more guy I want to mention because this story is just too great. It was from 11 years ago when Javon Walker was available on the open market. Now, he had left Green Bay, he had signed with the Broncos, he'd been cut by the Broncos, but he signed with the Raiders. $55 million over 6 years with $16 million guaranteed. He was a complete and total bust. He caught 15 passes with the Raiders and eventually just was gone. But the thing that makes this one stand out for me, the fact that we see this happen all the time, when a guy signs a free agent contract, the agent will leak false numbers to the media. And the media just runs with it because, hey, we want to get the scoop. I want to be able to tell my boss, I got the scoop. Hey, I got the scoop. Who cares if the numbers are embellished? I got the scoop. It'll happen over and over again next week as these deals get done. Well, typically what happens is the team never pushes back. The team never says anything because the team wants the guy to think, hey, I got a great deal.
Right.
So the Raiders became the first team to ever go on the record and push back and say, hey, those numbers your agent are putting out are bullcrap. So it gets better because, as it turns out, the numbers were right. So the one time that a team chooses to say, time out, these numbers are no good, is a time when the numbers that were put out there, the false numbers, are actually the right numbers. So that epitomizes the Raiders from the last decade, and it just shows how bad of a move it was for them to go after Javon Walker.
Yeah, I forgot about that aspect. I don't know if I ever really knew that part of the story, so that is hilarious, right? And
I was in the middle of it. They were sending me the statements. They sent me the statement. Hey, that's BS. Okay, I put it out there, and then we got the real numbers, and they had to backtrack and say, oh, I guess it wasn't BS.
Yeah, I mean, that is unbelievable. And I guess, I mean, to your point, too, what you were saying as far as, like, teams usually want the age, you know, it looks good. Look, it makes the player.
Make him happy.
Right.
Let him think he got a better deal than he did.
And other free agents who were maybe thinking about the Raiders or that team look and go, look, they pay their players. They're willing to spend money. So it's almost like natural propaganda for the team in general. But, yeah, Javon Walker and that experience was not good. You know, I would like to remind everybody, too, remember I always had heard, he really had a hard time, and I'm going to blank out on the name, but the player on the Denver Broncos that was shot and killed after the nightclub the one night, right? And I know Javon Walker was there to witness that, and I believe was in the car when the player.
Darren Williams.
Thank you very much.
Kristen Coleman, our director, says Darren Williams, and she's correct. You know, it also messed up Brandon Marshall, too.
Exactly.
He was really affected because when he testified in the trial, it turned out he was the guy they were going for. Yes. And they got Darren Williams instead.
Well, right. So that is, I always heard that really messed with Javon Walker and really threw a curveball to his life. And, of course, he didn't deliver with his contract with the Raiders.
Give me one more guy that the next one, if we'd have had a fourth round, that you would have picked.
I don't think I had a next one. I think I was up right there. I think I was at my very end. I mean, I thought about I know I had Brock Osweiler. I thought about like Jeff Garcia with the Cleveland Browns. That was a bad one, right? That didn't work out. He didn't play very many snaps, certainly. I think what I was going to jump off to, Mike, and really talk about more than anything, too, was just, I don't think the public always realizes how much power these agents have, right? The agents, they have the control over the inventory, and the teams are coming to them going, we need inventory. And there's just been so many crazy stories I've heard through the years, Mike, and know of where, agents can hold teams hostage. Oh, you want this player? Okay. Well, I'll let you have this player, but you need to sign this other player I have to a contract too, and make package deals because they're finagling. Maybe I don't want this guy in another team who I'm collecting a big check from to get cut. So there's these balancing issues all the time too, where the agents are so much more of a power player than I think the public realizes when it comes to the NFL.
You're absolutely right. And some of these agents represent coaches, represent general managers. Sometimes there are agents who want to get a general manager fired so someone that they know or they represent can get the job, so they'll withhold players from them. It's a dirty, nasty business with a lot of conflicts of interest. But you're right. The agents have a lot of power here because the players either don't know or they don't care. They trust the agent to place them in the right spot and get them top dollar. And they don't always understand what's happening behind the curtain as the agent moves the pieces on the chessboard to, if nothing else, amuse the agent because he or she has the power to do it. One last thing before we go.
Yeah.
And if you were still playing, you'd be very happy about this. I reported this morning at PFT that the NFL is prepared to make major concessions under the substance abuse policy as it relates to marijuana. This will be part of the next CBA. See, the NFL can't just do it now because there's nothing the NFLPA would give up. Because the NFLPA's attitude is, we don't need concessions because 99% of our guys know how to stay on the right side of the policy. They know how to stay on the right side of the testing program. They know when the window opens. They know when it closes. You have one test a year. If you pass it, you're good to go until the window opens the next year. But the NFL understands this isn't a good look for us. The society has changed. We have great players who aren't allowed to play because of something that has nothing to do with their abilities. It has nothing to do with their skills. And if it ever affects their employment, well, then it'll show on the field, and they won't be starters anymore. They won't be on the team anymore. So the NFL is the ultimate meritocracy. If a guy's smoking weed at night, so what, as long as he can play. And I feel like the NFL wants a way out of this, Chris, The way out is to make it part of the broader CBA negotiation. Then it's impossible to see that the NFLPA didn't give anything up in order to get the NFL to back off on marijuana.
Yeah, I hope they do back off. I hope they find something where if you get in trouble, if you're driving with it, whatever it may be, then maybe you get into the drug program. But stop the drug testing randomly altogether, right? I mean, that would be the big thing. And, you know, I think there's a lot of things. You're losing great football players because of it, right? We're losing some star players because of marijuana, which, again, I'm not sitting here to condone. You know, I like to dabble in it a little bit, but my biggest defense with it is, yes, should it be legal? Certainly. I mean, if alcohol is legal, the way people are abusing prescription drugs right now in our country, it's a huge issue. Marijuana is certainly a safer avenue than the prescription drug department. I can tell you that. And hey, I look at it as arbitrary as having a drink. I think that's where we are as society. I mean, come on. There's millions of people dying around the world because of alcohol abuse every year, but yet nobody dying from marijuana other than just maybe overeating from the munchies on the couch, but that's illegal. That's where I push back. I just think it's a stupid narrative, and I hope that the NFL can see the light on this one.
The control room has thrown the challenge flag on you saying dabble.
Dabble.
But, dabble.
That was a good challenge flag. You're right. That statement has been overruled. We went to he does more than dabble. He's a connoisseur, I guess we should say.
But, you know, here's the thing. It really is something that was driven by PR back in the 80s, the war on drugs. Remember the commercial? You turn on the TV, every third commercial, this is your brain on drugs,
right.
And they fry the egg. And look, I understand there are other drugs out there that should be prohibited, that should be avoided. But if marijuana if it's got any benefit whatsoever for pain management, isn't that better than taking a shot of Toradol, Chris?
No doubt about it. Or getting addicted to some, pill, prescription drug, which I've had teammates that have had those issues, and I've heard a number of stories like that with other friends around the NFL, with their teammates they've played with. So it's to this point, you're not seeing, or there's not a lot of research to say that marijuana is overly addictive that way, at least compared to what the prescription drugs are, or Toradol, the things that can really mess up the chemistry of your body in a lot of different ways.
Well, the bottom line is the NFL needs to adapt to the times. It is legal in many of the states where the NFL currently does business. And there are some rough spots they're going to have to iron out because, look, if you only ban it in the states where it's still illegal, you're going to drive all the free agents to the states where it is legal.
Sure.
Right? If you have a choice between two teams, you're going to the weed legal state if you would like to dabble in it yourself.
You're in Boston right now. It's legal there, right? You're smelling it everywhere.
I may have to end this now so I can go do a little dabbling. Right?
I would like to be there for that.
They have apps on your phone where you can find the places where you can dabble.
Oh,
so if I
man.
don't show up tomorrow, I will have a very good excuse.
Man, I need to move back there. Kid in the candy store.
Well, yeah, maybe that's not a good thing. Maybe you just stick to dabbling. Let's not go crazy. All right, that'll be it for today's episode of PFT OT. Chris, thanks for sticking around. Great conversation as always. Everybody, we'll see you tomorrow morning on PFT Live. Have a great day.
See ya.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.